Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker. Welcome to the show, y'all. But check this out. Listen. My partner, Chris, got out of the penitentiary, and he was out there struggling. I'm talking to him he's a Muslim brother now. Listen to me now. I'm talking to him on the phone at least once a week, maybe twice a week. I'm calling him. He putting the money on there. I'm calling him, talking to him. And he telling me, keep calling him, man, because, I'm keeping him motivated and all of these types of things, right? And he's telling me, you're going to look out for my sons and all this and that, right? They don't really need him to look out for them because they're doing okay. You know what I'm saying? My oldest son, he takes care of himself financially. He's breaking my youngest son Boo off a little bit every now and then. But Boo is starting to do things himself, you know what I'm saying, and get his own money. But at the end of the day, he didn't really need, my sons and them didn't really need him. He just wanted to be that balanced adult male figure in their life. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at it like this is a Muslim brother. You know what I'm saying? He keeps it 100. I ain't worrying about him trying to do nothing crazy. If anything, he going to give them some good advice. You know what I'm saying? About being a man and all of these types of things, right? Because he knew how I really feel about, my son, my oldest son selling dope, and I'm worried that it's going to influence my younger son and all of these different types of things. And I'm worried. So he's going to be that voice for me out there, you know what I'm saying, talking to them, looking out. You know what I'm saying? When Pops can't talk to them, they need somebody to talk to. He's going to be the one that they can rely on and talk to and call and all of that kind of stuff, right? So I'm telling them when, he might go down to Springfield and holler at them, or they might come to Nashville or something like that, and they'll be with him, and I happen to call him or either them, and we're talking and all that. I said, man, this is my dude, man. You can trust him. He's straight and blah, blah, blah. We did some time together. But see, what I learned about doing time with individuals is this. In the penitentiary, you can be anything and anybody you want to be. You can put on and be anybody you want to be. You can be this upstanding person in here. I'm talking about when it comes to that code, right? See, that's where we get tricked. A person that lives by the code, you feel what I'm saying? Keep your mouth shut. The police ain't straight. All of these types of things in the streets, right? That code is based on deceit. That code is based on manipulation. That code is based on using people. So when you got two individuals living their life based on that code, honor among thieves, right? Well, what we're talking about is we live by a code that deceives people. So if we live by a code that deceives people, then we're deceiving each other, right or wrong. If you disagree, hit me up in the comment section. Let me know what you think. So anyway, Chris is this dude that I've stamped with my sons. I stamped him, man. I stamped him. So one day, I'm calling and I'm talking to him. And this is Chris. I'm calling Chris and I'm talking to him one day. And his gal, his fiance, happens to be at the house with him. So he puts her on the phone, introduces her to me. I had met her a couple of times in the VG, but she never was really just all too happy in the VG, right? And I'm thinking it's because he's locked up and so on and so forth, that type of thing, right? So now Chris, like, man, holler Miguel real quick, Joe T, I got to run and take care of something, man. Don't hang up. I need to talk to you about something. I said, okay, man. He put on the phone. I'm talking to her. You know what I'm saying? How you doing? And all this, and keeping it nice and respectful. And she was like, you don't know him. That's all out the blue. She said, you don't know him. And I said, what you talking about? And she starts to tell me how he ain't straight, he ain't working, he ain't doing this and that, taking care of his responsibility. I understand that. When you first get out of penitentiary, sometimes it's hard to find a job that you can vibe with and want to do. And Chris was that person. He'd find a job, but it was always an excuse why he didn't want to be there and they wasn't straight. And he'd always say that either they didn't like Muslims and or this and that and that. And that. He would always have a reason that he didn't need to be there. But in the meantime, in between time, he's not taking care of his gal, which actually has his son You feel what I'm saying? So he's not taking care of these responsibilities. So she's saying that he ain't straight. So that's how I'm looking at it. I'm not looking deeper than that. But she keeps pushing. She said, Joe T, I'm telling you, he's not straight. He's not straight. He out here in these streets and he doing all of these things. He got you thinking that he's this type of dude and that type of dude, that he's looking out for your son. He ain't looking out for your sons. He ain't looking out for your sons. See, now I ain't hearing none of that. I'm looking at it like she's just a mad girlfriend. Chris probably out there, you know what I'm saying, got him a girlfriend, or he really don't want to be with her no more. Something else is going on that she's not telling me. I'm looking at it like it, but I'm listening. I ain't really just saying what I'm thinking to her. I'm listening to her. I said, okay. I said, y'all gonna work it out. Y'all gonna be straight. And she keep pushing and saying, you ain't listening to me. She said, do you know why Chris was in the penitentiary? I like, yeah, he was in here for robbery. She was like, right. He a stick-up kid. And she's saying, you can't trust him. She said, and you trusting him around your son, and your son out here moving and shaking, everybody hearing his name. You know, when you in the streets, people still hearing your name, even in other cities. Because like I told you, my partner that put him on, you feel me? This dude is major. He was major, especially back in them days. And he was introducing my son to people in the Ville. You know what I'm saying? People in the game. Because when you get to a certain level, everybody at that level, they kind of like know each other. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like an unspoken thing where they carve up different parts of the city. You know, this is me, this is you over here, and so on and so forth. And they all kicked it together. You know what I'm saying? They might go to sporting events together, have cookouts and stuff like that. And my son was getting to be in those circles, right? And Chris knew this. He knew it. He's seeing my son. But see, Chris has come from a different cloth. He's a stick-up kid. He's a stick-up kid. So one day, I called my son, and I'm talking to him. And he was like, Daddy, he said, Chris needed to borrow some money. I gave it to him, man. I'm just letting you know what I'm saying? I said, when he say he going to give it back to you? Now, first I said, how much was it? He said, it was $500. I said, you straight? He was like, yeah. I said, when did he say he's going to give it back to you? He said, I ain't tripping or nothing like that. He said he's going to give it back to me next week, though. I said, okay, if he told you that's what he's going to do, that's what he's going to do. You know what I mean? Now, it's no way in the world I know that he's going to pay that money back or not. There's no way to know that, because when we were in the penitentiary together, you know, we talking about noodles and debit cakes. You feel what I'm saying? Ain't nothing worth no $500. I ain't finna give him $500. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't have done that. You know what I'm saying? In the penitentiary, if he come ask me for $500 in the penitentiary, I'm like, what you got going on? But I know on the streets it's different. He got bills to pay, things like that, and he's struggling to hold a job. And then my son, like I said, my son's starting to think, you know what I'm saying, that he's a cool dude and all of this, so he gives him the money. But that made a red flag go up in my head. I'm thinking now, like, man, he asking my son for that kind of money and didn't even ask me first to see if it was straight. On the one level, I was like, okay, he's comfortable with my sons, you know what I'm saying, all this and that. So he's thinking, you know, he's like the uncle to him or whatever. He cool. He can ask him for that. You know, that's between them, two men. You feel me? But then on another level, it's like, these are my sons. You know what I'm saying? Like, anything like that, you need to be talking to me first. You trying to borrow money, because that's grown folk stuff. And don't get me wrong, my sons are still teenagers. They grown teenagers, you know what I'm saying, especially my oldest son. But they're still teenagers. They still need guidance. Even though I had already given them the wrong guidance, they still need guidance. But my son did that on the strength of me. He looked out for him because I was looking out for my son with the plug and all of these different things, you know, talking to him. So my son looking at it like, my dad is not going to put somebody around me that ain't straight. My dad done put me in the car with a major person. So my daddy's word is bond with me. This is how my oldest son is thinking. And I respected that. I liked that. I appreciated that. But let me tell you something. When you let certain people into your house, metaphorically speaking, you better find out everything you can about them before you introduce them to your family. Everything that you can. And if you're not satisfied with what you know, then you got to make sure you feed them with a long-handled spoon. Period. That's just the bottom line. The bottom line. So here's what happened, y'all. I happened to call home one day. I'm talking to both of my sons, right? They're in the car. Now, it's my youngest son on the phone. Now, y'all know Boo. Boo talking about daddy. I said, what's going on, baby? He said, man, Montrez just got robbed. I'm like, what? He just got robbed? How did he get robbed? Because when he come to the Ville, he meet my partner at a certain spot. Everything is straight. It ain't no middleman. Ain't nobody in the middle of that. And plus, my partner, he makes sure that everything is straight. I said, how did this happen? He said, man, when he was at the spot, you know what I'm saying, waiting on your friend, he said, Chris called him and said, man, it was an emergency. He needed to meet him somewhere real fast. It wasn't going to take a minute, but it was an emergency. He needed his help. So he leave the spot, go meet Chris, and then as soon as he get to the spot, as soon as he get to Chris, Chris is walking away, and some dude come out with a mask on and put the gun up behind Montrez's head and tell him to get on the ground. I said, what? He was like, yeah. I said, so where did Chris go? He said, Dad, he walked away. He just kept walking like he didn't hear it. Like he didn't know what was going on. I said, for real? And I was like, wait a minute. I said, so what happened? He said, the dude got the gun behind Montrez's head, told him, he said, give me the keys. So Montrez said the keys is in the car. So the dude go open the car door, grab the keys. Well, another dude go open the car door, grab the keys, and then he go to the trunk. Montrez laying down on the ground. The other dude got the pistol to his head. They open up the trunk and get out the 20 racks. They get the 20 racks out, and then they close the trunk. And then they tell him, he better not get up. They're going to kill him. So they walk away, run away, and then Montrez, he started to look around and see, and there ain't nobody there, but he's still scared to get up. And then some old lady come out of the house, and she was like, baby, why are you on the ground? And then he looked at her, and he said, I just got robbed. She said, oh, my God, let me call the police. He said, no, don't call the police. So he gets up, and he gets in his car, and he driving. He called me, and he tell me to get to Nashville right now. You know what I'm saying? And then I drive over to Nashville, and I meet him, and now we in the car, we riding around, we looking for Chris. So about this time, my oldest son, Montrez, he get on the phone. He said, Daddy, Chris done robbed me, man. And I can hear the emotion in his voice. He's scared. He don't know what just happened, but he trying to keep it gangster. He trying to keep it gangster, trying to hold it together. But I can hear it. I can tell his voice is cracking. This nigga had my son on the ground with a pistol to his head. My son didn't know whether he was going to live or die. And then that's when they said, both of my sons, they say something that almost broke me. But I understood why they said it. They said, Daddy, did you know anything about this? And I said, no. Why would you say that? And they said, that's your friend. That's your friend. You introduced him to us. See, now they hitting me with the street code, man. The street code. See, what that means is this, y'all. Like when you're a part of a gang, right, and you bring somebody in, everything that they do, all of that, that's on you. Because you introduced them to the family. I had introduced Chris to the family. I had introduced him to my sons. I had allowed him into the fold. And he took advantage of that. He took advantage of that. Now, I got off the phone. I'm panicking. I'm shaking. I said, man, let me call him. I'm going to call you back. No, I didn't get off the phone. I said, call him. They called the number that I had. His girl answered the phone. I'm pissed at this point because now I'm starting to believe it. I said, where is Chris at? She was like, I don't know. He left a while ago. He ain't been back. I said, when he get there, tell him to call my sons. It's 911. She said, what happened? So I start running it down to her, and she says this, I told you he wasn't straight. Told you he wasn't straight. And I said, I ain't trying to hear that right now. I said, when he get in, you tell him to call. I'm not playing. This is serious. 1 day go by. 2 days go by. I've been calling him. My son's calling. He ain't answering. He ain't even answering. So after about a week, almost a week, I called back over there. She happens to be at the house. I said, where is Chris at? And she said, Joe T, I'm sorry. I said, what you sorry for? She said, he did that. I know he did. He kept denying it. But she said, I know him. I know him. I said, I need to find him. I need to make this right. See, it was bothering me, and I wanted to make it right because my sons really believed that I could have had something to do with that. And that was hurting me. And to think that this person that I had brought into the fold would allow somebody to put a gun to my son's head. What if my son would have fidgeted and moved, or what if he would have fought back? Then what? How does this end? How does this end? How does this end? It would have gotten ugly. I know it would have. And my son probably wouldn't be here. And that's on me. And that was eating me alive. It was eating me alive. And I didn't know what to do. Now, why do I tell you this story? Why am I telling you this story, y'all? I'm telling you this story because I want you to understand that sometimes when you make a decision as a parent to do things that are not right in relation to your child, because you want your child to like you, and all of these other things, you think you're protecting your child, particularly if you're doing something criminal. You're not. You're not helping them because you can't control what's going to happen in life. And if something happens to your child because of you, because of something that you've done, like I introduced my child to the dope game, and if something would have happened to him in the dope game, it's on me. And I don't know what I would have done. I don't know what I would have done, but it would have been on me if my son would have gotten killed. So think about that when you're out there and you're thinking about what you're going to do in this situation, that situation. My uncle told me something. He said, you shouldn't have never done that. Now, if he decided to do it on his own, that's what he's going to do. But you don't do it. Because if something happens, it's your responsibility. And that's on you. And that's what I mean. So remember that. Remember that. If you introduce your child to something illegal and they end up getting in trouble, that's on you. It's on you. If they do it on their own, that's on them. And then you be there for them as a parent, not as a friend. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker. And I say peace, y'all.